let's review another topic that's pretty basic knowledge, okay? Now, late payments and cancellations, okay? Now, for this situation, let's talk about how companies work and how they evaluate their late payments, you could say, and what happens after, okay? Now, there's something called grace period. You know what that means?
I'm not too sure.
Okay, so let me review that real fast. Now, let's review this real fast. Late payments, which equals cancellation, okay? Meaning if you make a payment that's late, okay, after the due date, the majority of the companies won't give you any coverage. So technically, you're driving without insurance. So technically, the policy is canceled. Now, you won't advise the customer that their policy is canceled because they'll get negative and very defensive. You'll just tell them their payment is late. But realistically, the payment is late. There's no coverage at all. So let's look at the first one. The majority of the companies don't have a grace period, which means as soon as the payment is late, the customer is driving without insurance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
No coverage whatsoever. Now, there's something that we call grace period. Okay, there's a few companies like Infinity, let's say Progressive. The majority of the direct companies may offer that. Alliance offers that when you're on EFT. So they have their payments electronically deducted from their checking account, and their payment is late, or maybe they don't have sufficient funds. The insurance company offers a grace period. Okay. The majority of the majority of the companies offer 7 days of coverage. So that's a grace period. So if you ever hear that, that's technically the meaning of it. And you can use it to your benefit. If a customer has access, for example, and they're always late, you could justify on, let's say, Infinity, which offers a grace period, which means they're driving with insurance.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, another topic will be who charges a late fee? And the answer would be everybody does. Okay. And the majority of the companies, okay, maybe a good 90% of the companies are going to charge a late fee if the payment is late 1 day. So if your payment is due on the 10th, then that means your payment should be processed or should be made on the 9th. So you won't be late because it's technically 12 a.m., 12:01 a.m. So that's another thing as well. So it's due, let's say if it's due on the 10th, it's due on the 10th, 12:01 a.m., which means it's due on midnight. Does that make sense? So therefore, the payment is late if they don't make it prior to the 10th. So in this case, once again, the late fee could average anywhere from $6 to $15, for example, and they're responsible to pay the late fee right after the due date. So if your payment is due on the 10th and you don't make the payment on the 9th, by the 10th, you have no coverage, which means your payment is late. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Any questions as far as this? It's pretty basic.
No questions at all. It's just unfortunate, you know.
Yeah, if the payments are even 1 day late, they're technically driving without insurance. And they're also responsible for a late fee. Okay?
And they won't have coverages, I mean.
They won't have coverage because the payment was processed, because the payment hasn't been processed. Now, if they have a company like Infinity or a company that offers a grace period, then they could make the payment late, but they're driving with insurance.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, any questions?
Okay, so what companies exactly offer the grace period?
From the companies that we work with, let's say for example, Infinity offers grace period. Alliance, if you're using a
EFT.
checking account, for example, those are the only two companies. Let's say the rest of the companies like Multi-State, SEJ, Access, for example, just to name a couple, they don't offer grace period. So technically, or even Alliance, if you have Alliance on a month-to-month basis without a checking account, then your payment is late. Technically, you're driving without insurance.
Okay.
So it just depends on the way you set up your payment plan with Alliance.
Okay.
Okay? Any questions?
None at all.
Okay, perfect.